Welcome to the Atharva Forum. My name is Suresh Venkat. Today we have Professor S Balaram, one of the original gurus of design in India. Balaram was part of the founding team of the National Institute of Design, and I have had the good fortune personally of being a Shishya under Professor Balaram in the early 90s. So the Guru and the Shishya today are in conversation together. We are here to talk about the genesis of modern Indian design. Quick reminder, do subscribe to the Atharva Forum channel if you haven't done so already. Education in India used to be imparted under the Guru-shishya parampara. In what way did this influence your teaching style at NID?
It's a question which I can't directly answer. At NID, when we started education, we made a conscious decision that it will be like a family. And a family cannot be a big one, so the numbers have to be limited. So numbers are limited to 30. From 20 we started and it's 30. So that way, the idea is that the teacher should know the student by face and not by number. It's not just knowing the face, but knowing the person's inner attitudes and likes and dislikes and his all other things which are important in education, I feel. Every person needs a different way of learning because the learning depends on your own attitudes and makeup. So from the beginning, we were conscious of it. Gautam Sarabai, who was the first of the governing council, he established a kind of democratic way right from the beginning. Although we were only students, but we were consulted by the chairman governing council for every small thing. Mm-hmm. For them, there is no small thing and there is no big thing. Mm-hmm. There is a small incident happened, like somebody stole a flower or something like that, plucked a flower. That has become an issue. The crime and punishment didn't happen just like that. It's not a crime and punishment. It is seen by Gautam Bhai as it is a kind of issue to be discussed and shared by everyone, and there should be a shared value system. So we got used to this kind of thing. Anything which happens, it has to be discussed. We have consultative forums right from there, where the faculty and the students and the management sat together on one platform and discussed every issue because the issues concern everybody, no matter at what position you have. Positions are not treated as a hierarchical position, but position is taken as a different kind of responsibility. Mm-hmm. That is how we kind of closeness is necessary in a learning situation because only when you are on close a platform, then the transfer of knowledge will happen. I see it happening. I keep telling my students, real learning happens outside the four walls of the classroom than inside the four walls of the classroom. What I meant is when we talk to a teacher at the lunch table, at the tea table, outside having some, get together, having some watching a match, etc. At that time, we sit with the teacher. Whatever he says will be accepted because there you consider him as a pal. Mm-hmm. Whereas in a class situation, there is no matter how much you say, there is no hierarchy. There will be higher and there will be lower, and it's always the higher person giving it to the lower person. So that's it. But I really believe even today that the learning is two ways. The teacher will learn constantly from the student. I keep saying that the child makes the mother in the same way a student makes the teacher.
Okay, I want to talk about Gautam and Gira and Sarabai. Neither of them were designers, but they played a fundamental role in shaping Indian design. On one hand, you had Gautam and Gira and Sarabai, deeply rooted in the Indian ethos. On the other hand, you had Charles and Ray Eames, deeply rooted in an American modernist ethos. How did these two opposing forces come together to create a philosophy of Indian design?
I don't look at them as opposing forces, Suresh. They're different, certainly. But they're great in their own ways. Charles Eames, of course, I don't have to tell. He has been much talked about man. He's been given the title of designer of the 21st century and all. But talk about Gautam Sarabai and Gira Sarabai, I would say the Sarabai family is illustrious in the whole country. They have been not only great industrialists of the country, India, but they're also in freedom fighting they participated. Vikram Sarabai, the youngest of the brothers, Sarabai brothers, has been known for his scientific excellence, and he is the one responsible for starting the Indian space research movement. It's a movement, it's not just an organization. From that family, these two brother and sister come, Gautam Sarabai. First, let me tell about Gautam Sarabai. Gautam Sarabai, many people may not know, he is a wizard. Apart from industrialist, he is a wizard, he is a mathematics genius, and he is an innovator. He is the one who invited none other than Buckminster Fuller. At that time, in the 60s, Buckminster Fuller was a world name for a scientist genius who started this dimensionism. And his geodesic dome, even today, is at the Calico Mills. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the landmarks. Calico Museum and Calico Dome and Calico Museum were the landmarks, and ISRO. These three are landmarks of India situated in Ahmedabad. So has been NID. Now, about Gira Sarabai, she is a quiet lady, and she never wanted publicity at all. She always shunned publicity and very vehemently refused to give interviews and vehemently refused to have her photograph taken and all that. I know it very well. But what a lady! She single-handedly started the world's finest museum of textiles with her own money. And she is not a kind of ordinary person. She actually apprenticed the legendary Frank Lloyd Wright in America. She is an architect herself. She never kind of told about it, but people who know the history of her know both of them are really right people at the right time. They have kind of started NID, and that's how NID was today what it was. I would like to say one instance about Gautam Sarabai's kind of innovation and his ability to convince others. When you see, he insisted that a building should speak about what it is. So, National Institute of Design should speak about design, which is an innovation, which is beauty. So, what he did is he finally discovered or hunted and discovered N.S. Ramaswamy from Roorkee. He was the director of Roorkee. He called him to have an innovative structure, and Ramaswamy did give the innovative structure, which is the 40 feet by 40 feet dome, which NID's domes are full of, without reinforcement. And that is I am talking about 1960. At that time, that is unheard of. Even today, if you say that these bricks are standing on their own because of that kind of curvature which is given, and there is no reinforcement, people don't believe 40 feet by 40 feet. Even the masons, experienced Indian masons who have done it because they were forced, they said, no, we don't want to. They put their tools aside saying that, sir, this is a suicide, we don't want to work on this. And Gautam Bhai has to go, and this is what Darshan Patel told me. Gautam Bhai said that you don't worry, I will give in writing, I will stand under the roof when the cranes are lifting the roof up, and I will give a declaration that nobody else but my foolishness, in case the dome falls on me and I die, I will give a declaration that nobody but my own foolishness is responsible for my death. So he stood under it. and the first dome went up, and then everybody was kind of unbelievably kind of happy. And that is the dome which is even today it stands opposite the auditorium, NID auditorium today, that with huge long columns. And another thing about it I must say about this building. In 2001, there is this earthquake in Ahmedabad. Ravi Mukherjee, who was there at that time, he was in the faculty housing. He came out and he said, Balaram, when the earthquake came and everything shook, this building swayed like a coconut tree and came back. So this is what Ramaswamy's miracle. And this is the expanded joint he has used everywhere with a lot of foresight. So this is what Gautam Bhai had done, and of course the selection of the site was also very beautiful, next to the river. He wanted to have that kind of artistic, aesthetic feeling for everybody.
Now, I want to move the discussion to design philosophy. You know, the foundational document of NID and, of course, Indian design was the India report authored by Charles and Ray Eames. If you had to commission a report today to understand where Indian design is today, what does New India need and New Bharat? What do both these entities need from design? What would a New India report contain?
India report was written in 1958, 65 years ago. Naturally, nothing is static, everything is moving. So naturally, it won't be valid today. Charles Eames deliberately didn't say the bricks and mortar kind of details. He left it. He simply very poetically said it should be lotus of modern India. So himself said that you have to constantly restudy. He wanted us it constantly be reviewed and redone, and that he left it to us. In fact, in 1978, when he came, that was lost his before his death, he asked about it. What are you doing? What is the change? Change is the only constant thing.
So what would the New India contain, Balaram?
New India report would be because something which is suitable to the New India. New India is not the same India in 60s, which is post-independence area. It doesn't matter who writes it. But if it is a designer, he will not, I would prefer that to be a designer who would know the ethos.
Like you said, India is a country of unimaginable complexity. The rocket part being carried on cycle, you said the person riding a bullock cart is surfing the internet using 5G. Now, there are multiple ethoses of design in India. There's design for the public sector, which is still alive and kicking. There's design for craft, design for private industry. We produce fintech apps, and India, I think, conduct 9 billion transactions in a month. This is more than the US, Europe, and China put together. We're at the cutting edge of software technology. We have design for advertising. We have so many different kinds of design in India. So as a design teacher today, how should one teach the Indian philosophy of design? What even is the Indian philosophy of design?
You are talking about the language part, or you are talking about
the philosophy? Modernism was driven by philosophy. Postmodernism was driven by philosophy. Art Nouveau, Art Deco. These design movements were driven by a distinct philosophy, more than just the utility of the object. My question to you is, with so much complexity in India and so many different ethoses, what is the underlying philosophy with which we should be teaching design to young students today?
See, we have to develop, first of all, as I said, we should first understand deeply our own tradition and adopt it to modernity. If we don't understand our own tradition in an intense and deep manner, either we will reject it for the so-called modernity, which is either from west, or east, from wherever it is outside. There, I remember one of the Gandhi's sayings that I will open all my windows. He says that all my windows and doors of my house open to the cultures all over the world, but I will see that I am not blown off my feet. That's very beautiful saying. It applies today. Our philosophy should be that, but for that we should first understanding deeply our own philosophy. Unfortunately, that has not been done, and it's nobody to blame but ourselves. We have not made enough effort. We are talking about 60 years of design in this country, more than that, 60
Yeah.
years. One is, actually it is 100 years if you consider Rabindranath Tagore, who started in 2009, 1919 in Vishwavarti in Shantriketan, it is 100 years. But even 60 years is a long time for us to go into deep into our in 1919, a German lady from Bauhaus called Stella Kramrisch came and she learned Sanskrit and translated Vishnu Dharmottara into English so that it is available to others. And I came to know much later at NID that such a book exists and she has done it. It's already late. Till today, even today, you ask any design, how many designers, professionals, and teachers know about this great book, Vishnu Dharmottara. Stella Kramrisch knew it. So, Shabdaratnakaram, there are many Indian-owned kind of canons of beauty and aesthetics. Saundarya Lahari. Many other books, they are not even known to us. We have kind of ignored them. This has to be done. Even today, my anguish is about we don't have a magazine, even a design magazine worth. The only design magazine in English which used to run, that Design India, is also closed down.
Mm-hmm.
Then in local languages, which is the magazine, even in Hindi, is there one book you can say on design? So what are we talking about? If there are no resources available, there are three things which are necessary. One is the teacher should be able to express, and the other one is the resources should be there, and the third is you should have the method which could convey very well. Our resources are even today are very poor. We can't blame the British or anyone else for it because British have gone 60 years ago, or more than that, 75 years ago. So I think it is our own lacuna of not going into what our resources are. So that has to be done at a kind of war footing. And then we will understand what is our philosophy. And that has to be re-evaluated to fit into today's needs.
Absolutely.
See, if you just follow it, anything, however good it is, unless you articulate it, it will be Ludditism. Yeah, you can't cling to the past just like the past is great, past is great, past is great. This is what Ludditism is all about. But you should look at it and apply it and relate it to the present. That's what. That's not been done, Suresh. Unfortunately, not many people are looking at it. Kumar Vyas tried to do that. He wrote that book, one book, Designing the Indian Context, a great man. It's a very small 60-page book. That's not enough. And one Kumar is not enough. India is such a big country. Today, I was told the other day in a university meeting, India today has got some 1100 design schools.
Yeah.
My question is, I don't know whether it is a good or bad. That is another point. But the thing is, from where they are getting the teachers and from where they are getting the teaching resources. So many of them, I know they don't even have a library. So How is it, in which side we are going? So this is what. So to answer your question is, yeah.
No, go ahead, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead. Finish up.
So the philosophy has to come from our own, looking at our own roots, and then translating into local languages. It need not be one language, Hindi. It could be any local language. All local languages are rich. That is the only way to reach the people in that particular locality. Sanskrit also unreachable now. Even although we all talk about it very proudly about Sanskrit, but how many people know Sanskrit?
Yeah.
So this is what. This is where I have no. We shouldn't have any kind of political view of a language. Language is good. Language is a medium of communication, and communication is, as we all know, is a message which is understood commonly. Communication has that word common, commonly between the sender and the receiver. So local language is excellent for the local teaching with local resources and local techniques. But globalization has brought in suddenly the world closer. We are talking about the global village. So for that you need a global language. If you stick to your own language, you will be left behind. You will be only in your community. So we have to have in my opinion, if you ask me, a two-language policy. That we should have a local language, very strong local language, and a very strong international or global language.
Both should be equally strong.
Both should be equally strong.
There is a social philosophy called vasudhaiva kutumbakam, that the world is one family. And as designers, we have a concept called universal design, that is designed for the whole world or designed for everybody. How designers can bring these two forces together, vasudhaiva kutumbakam and universal design?
Vasudhaiva kutumbakam is universal design. But let me tell you, if I may say so, it's a high time that we should do right design and not the wrong design. Wrong design is the biased design. Wrong design is a design which only cares for a particular group of people. Wrong design is the one who doesn't care the weakest people in the society. So right now the wrong design is what is non-inclusive design. And so universal design, on the other hand, is the inclusive design, design for all. Yeah. So why I'm saying this, and it's particularly important for a populated country like India, because we have so many people who are differently abled, disadvantaged. In 2001, the world's genius, only next to Albert Einstein, people said, Stephen Hawking visited India as the national guest. He wanted to see the Taj Mahal, and when he was told he can't see it, he was shocked. Why he can't see? Because he was wheelchair bound. So that means how many people are in the country who are suffering like this, not able to see any of the monuments. Why Taj Mahal? How many things which an old person can use in this country? And old people are increasing. Fortunately or unfortunately, they are living longer. Yeah, but we don't care enough for them. We only give, fortunately, at least they're giving the lower beds nowadays in trains. But apart from that, there's nothing. My father-in-law, even myself now, don't travel in the buses at night buses because there is no toilet facility in the bus. And they won't stop on the highway. They said, sir, it's dangerous. But it could be easily done. It's not so. I went to Japan and I was so happy there because every bus there compulsorily will have a toilet at the back. And the driver keeps on announcing, if anybody wants to use a toilet, please go and use it. What a beautiful thing to do. Why can't we not do it? It doesn't need uh, much cost. Just thinking, just a little care that there are people who are not like us. There are people who are beyond 45, like that. So this is universalism all about caring for them. Blind people, for example, India beats up all other countries in blindness.
Mhm.
We have got something like 63 million blind people, which they say is much further than the whole of England put together. So I keep joking, if we send all our blind people to England, England will become a blind land. Yeah, and they will spill over also to Spain, to France and other countries. But how much we are doing for the blind people? How many public areas are accessible to blind people? How many blind walking sticks, the country is making? This is it. Even today, wheelchairs have to be imported. We are not making enough wheelchairs now. So, but apart from that, how many public areas are accessible to people with different abilities? So this is what universal design, and I feel that universal design should be a mandatory subject in
Mhm.
all design schools. It's only NID started recently, and I started in DJ Academy of Design, and at NID also I started this. I think
Okay.
this should be in all schools. Why only NID?
Balaram, I want to move to the next part of this interview. And if you don't mind, there's going to be some personal questions in this part of the interview because there's
Good, go
lots of
ahead.
learning I have from you. Okay. First question. I know a part of your childhood I'm aware of. I've interacted with you before. I've interviewed you before. You came from a small village in Andhra Pradesh. And you've spoken about your teachers. You've spoken about influences. By and large, if you were to look back today, the Balaram that is practicing today, the Balaram that is teaching today, how did your childhood shape this Balaram?
It's not a usual, it's an unusual kind of story, my coming up. That is why I normally avoid it saying that I didn't go to design, design came to me. I didn't go because I didn't know what design is, etc. It is true, but it's not giving the proper answer. Everything has a reason. I will tell you today how I happen to be like this. When I was a very young, as a child, I was from a very tiny village, hardly 30 houses in that. And it's like a tribal small hamlet. There are only four other people who can read and write in the whole village. And of course, no books, no newspapers, nothing. Then how did I come to know about it? How did I got interested? There's one thing in this village next to my house, the second house after my house. There is a man, formidable character, very strange man. His name is Challa. He is a kind of in the whole village. He is never in all his life. He never talked to anyone in the whole village. With blood red eyes, and he looks at everybody in a very straight manner, and he has got a double barrel gun because he used to help hunting the Maharaja of Hooghly. So everybody is afraid. And when he goes in the street on his rally bicycle, every morning he goes to the Hooghly town, which is nearby, and comes back only in the evening. So nobody knows what he does. But there is a hush hush when he goes in the street. They won't even talk loudly. That is the kind of character. Even his wife and adopted son, he hardly talked. And why I'm telling about him? As a child, I was very not shy, but I'm a kind of introvert. I never used to play with the other children. I never got interested. So how do I spend my time? I used to go to the village festivals and some performances and this shadow puppet shows and things like that. But other times, I somehow discovered this is the only man who has few books. He has got a very small kind of almirah kind of thing in which he kept some books. I discovered it so, but I was also scared of this guy because he has got a gun. And so I wait very patiently outside, very quietly, like a little mouse. Wait till he goes, and after he goes, I will enter his house after asking auntie, and I sit here. I sit there not to borrow. I can't borrow his books. I don't have dare daring. I sit there and read those books, and those books happen to be their books of Rabindranath Tagore translations. They're books of Mahatma Gandhi's works, translations, and they're books by some of the literary giants of that time in Telugu, Gudipati Venkachalam and Sri Sri, some of these people. So I liked them. Apart from in the school, I used to read in the primary school, I used to read my teacher for my teacher when he took a nap. I used to read Chandamama for him. This is how my interest in reading. When I came to know about people like Tagore and Gandhi, who are not just politicians or poets, they are kind of all-round people. They're painters, they're aestheticians, they've got all of the things. So I got into slowly into it. There is another thing which I must say. I lost my father before I even gone to the school. And my mother is a widow and it's a joint family. A widow in a joint family is kind of done. So she has no voice at all. So there is always a kind of blessing in disguise. I was left to do whatever I like because there is nobody to care. So I used to go sit at the Bhagavatam performance or some shadow puppet performance the whole night, and morning when I go home, nobody asks me. My mother is only bothered about whether I've eaten or not. So I have grown up just like this, and I developed. I used to collect from the rubbish bins papers, and I liked pictures always, so I used to draw on them and all that because I couldn't afford the cost of paper. That is how I developed my interest. And later on, what happened was when I went to high school, I never used to play sports. Not that I don't I like them, but I thought, what a waste of time. Every day I used to go 16 kilometers to the nearby town, barefoot. That is enough exercise for me. I said, again, why should I go for sports? So I used to sometimes, I'm late for my class, so I have to run. So I have done my running and all that, so I don't need it. But what I found as a kind of a treasure is the library. Probably I'm the only one used to go to the library. So I used to go to library and there I read the translations of this famous Charles Dickens, Dostoevsky, Premchand, and Maupassant, and all these people's translations at that time. So it's a marvelous time. And then another thing happened. That was this man, this Challagopalam, whom I mentioned about. One day, he brought one extremely beautiful woman with a baby with her. And he just took her to the house and told his wife, she and the baby will stay with us now forever. The baby is mine. I was that is a kind of shocking for everyone. For me, it's a kind of most amazing act of courage. Mm-hmm. This man has, of course, the village was shocked and they were hushers. So this man took his double-barrel gun and said, I never interfered with anybody's life and I never said anything to anybody. And I would expect the same thing towards me. If anybody wants to say, let them come, he has put his gun there. Nobody not dared look that side. So what it meant to me is he has become a hero. Like he told me at that time and till today, you must have a boldness and a conviction to stand up for whatever you feel is right, even if the whole society doesn't like it. I did it with my marriage also. Yeah. And many times, many things in life I have followed that. You must have the guts, you must have the conviction. Even if you're all alone, it doesn't matter. We used to go on cycle to NID for the shock of the security people and many people because that's what I wanted to do, I will do it. So this has been a kind of throughout my life. Not only that, my knowledge of Rabindranath Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi sent me to Calcutta for the interview of NID and then to stay in Ahmedabad where Gandhi stayed at Sabarmati Ashram and all that. They are instrumental in my actually going to NID. If you believe in Carl Jung's synchronicity theory, I think I always wanted it and they have come to me because I wanted it. And how I wanted it is because Challagopalam and because of my high school library. And there is another thing in the high school happened. There is an art teacher, Ram Sharma. Nobody goes to art teachers. In any high school, art period is a free period. Everybody used to go home and enjoy. But I somehow want to go to him, but he can't teach for one person. So he used to treat me like a servant. Go get me some cigarette packet. Go get me some drink. Go get me some. Sometimes it is also alcohol. He used to use me. I don't mind as long as he used to allow me to fill. He used to do the signboard painting and such commercial work. He used to allow me to paint somewhere. So I used to feel so happy. Now I have become an artist. So that is how an art thing has started. And the film also, he used to do the film posters and all that outside. Door numbering. I did all kinds of things because I used to enjoy them. Of course, all this also meant my neglecting mathematics and science and such other things. And I got the beating from the teachers. But I never told this to my mother because she will be unnecessarily worried because if you have done, I have only one kind of theory in life. If you've done something wrong, if you get a punishment, just take it because you deserve it. So there is no question of I cried, but you don't have to tell anybody, complain about it. What do you complain about it? If you have done something wrong, next time you did it. So this is how the way has been paved for my going to design. Tagore, Gandhi, and Challagopalan and his daring. And by the way, that lady whom he brought home is a Devadasi.
Oh, okay.
From Hubli. Hubli has a temple, Venugopal Swami Mandir. Still it is there. And next to that, there is a kind of whole lane of Devadasi. We belong to them. So that is another story. Some other day we can. But I liked that also. This is a kind of social reform. He is doing it without claiming any name.
Thank you for sharing those childhood experiences with us, Balaram. We have come to the end of the interview. I'm going to ask you my last question. You've already spent a lifetime in design. You've trained countless designers. I count myself fortunate as to be one of the students trained under your tutelage at NID. And I'm sure there are hundreds of people like me who owe a debt of gratitude to you. The question I have for you, my pleasure, Balaram. It's my pleasure to be here with you today and my honor to be interviewing you today. I never thought this day will come, but I'll be asking you questions one day. I still remember you on the other side interviewing me as a young student.
Yeah, I'm very happy.
I'm very happy to be here as well. My final question to you is, what is Balaram looking forward to in the next 10 years? What is your vision for the future for yourself?
I haven't really thought about it, Suresh, but I think I have to ask myself about it. I think I would like to. I have started few things which are very kind of close to my heart. Like I already said, right design or universal design. I want to, as long as I live, I would like to propagate and kind of work for it in yeah, whatever way. I used to go every 2 years when in Japan there is this International Association of Universal Design (IAUD). Under that, I used to get invited, and many times I am the only one from the so-called developing world.
Mhm.
I call it majority world, but they call it developing world. But I'm the only one, but I'm happy, at least I am making my voice heard there, because there is no representation of, there is not even China, only recently China also joined, but this developing world needs universal design much more than any other place. But there is nothing, because nothing is happening there. So in that area, I would like to work. The other one I want to work is, you see, one can't escape by just criticizing. I myself said there are no design resources in the country.
Mhm.
So I want to, the rest of my time, I've taught enough. I've taught for past like 55 years. But I want to devote the rest of the time, whatever time is left, to developing resources for design.
Okay.
We don't have even a simple textbook for design in any language, either English or in local languages. We haven't even written history of Indian design so far. Right now, I am working on that book. You'd be happy to know. I would like to publish it myself, and I want to, in this direction. I would like to work out a series of textbooks on design for Indian, written specially for the Indian students, because right now we don't have it, and we simply blame the West. Oh, it's all westernized, westernized. This is not. This is just a blame game. You to do it. If you don't like something, do something to mend it, correct it. Don't just keep blaming it. So I want to work on that, develop these resources for education, and work on the university design. And this getting into the philosophy of Indian philosophy, I would like to study more in that direction. So these are the areas I would like to go, and hope that will be useful to the coming. And of course, I will be there as a teacher. Yeah, as a teacher, people come to me to ask advise what kind of design they should learn, and what is the they ask what is the job prospects. I refuse to give them. I won't give you job prospects. The market is fun, but I will tell you what design can do to you. So many parents come and they are happy, even if they don't join particularly in any particular institute. But the parents suddenly become my, good friends, and they keep on kind of continue the contact. So that gives me a lot of satisfaction. So that way, I kind of, yeah, in a small way, in a very, very small way, I'm doing this design propagation.
Okay, Balram, we wish you all the best for the future, and we'll be there to support you along every step of the way. You've already made a stellar contribution to design over your lifetime, and I'm sure the next things you're going to do, which is universal design, writing design textbooks in Indian languages, are also going to be vital to the ethos of Indian design and the history of Indian design. We wish you all the best. And for viewers of this episode, do subscribe to the Atharva channel for more such content. With that, I'd like to end the interview. Thank you, Balram.
Thank you. Thank you for all for listening to me.